Hello everyone, my name is Emilio, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm just doing a little Blu-ray haul of movies that I basically bought throughout the month of April. So that's what this video is going to be. Let's just go ahead and begin in 3, 2, 1. Alright, I'm going to start with the movies that I bought at half price books throughout the month. This is going to go ahead and start with 310 to Yuma. Really cool, fun Western. Russell Crowe, Christian Bale, got Logan Lerman. It's a really great Western. To me, this is like probably one of the last great Westerns that were made. This one came out in, 2007, same year as No Country for Old Men and the assassination of Jesse James. It's a great movie. I wish I saw this film in the theater, but I was too young and I don't know, didn't see it. But really great movie. I know there's a 4K that was out, but I hear the Blu-ray is better, and I found it for $6.49, so I thought it was a really good deal. So that's what I got. Another movie that I bought is The Aviator. Classic Martin Scorsese movie. Well, I wouldn't say it's like a classic like, Goodfellas or Taxi Driver, but it's a movie that came out, holy shit, this movie's like 20 plus years old now. But yeah, The Aviator, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. I really like this movie. I've only seen this movie a handful of times. I saw it when I was a teenager in high school. They showed bits and pieces of it on TV, like on FX, and it's always been a really cool, interesting movie. And I remember as a kid watching the preview for this film, at the movie theater. I forgot what movie I saw. But yeah, The Aviator, it's a really good movie. It's a really interesting biopic. And I really do think this is like one of DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese's more underrated movies. It's a movie a lot of people don't talk about that much. And there's a lot of people, everyone knows who Leonardo DiCaprio is. There's people that I talk to, but they've never heard of this movie. It's really good. It's about Howard Hughes, what his life was like as a filmmaker, as the aviator, that's what the movie's called. His complex psychological demons that, affected his personal life. A really fun movie, and yeah, it's kind of good. I like it quite a lot, and I bought it. I've been wanting to find it for some time. Found it for $7.49. And here is a very special Blu-ray. This is from a really popular filmmaker who mostly makes very dark, depressing, sometimes disturbing material. This is the first time he went out of his comfort zone and decided to make something that is really more of like a prestigious type of Oscar movie. Some people could go ahead and say that this movie is kind of Oscar baity. But yeah, it's a movie directed by David Fincher, and it is The Curious Case of Benjamin Button with Brad Pitt and Cate Blanchett. I remember when I was like around 12, 13 when this movie came out. This is when I officially started wanting to become a cinephile. This is when I really wanted to know the names of filmmakers and the types of movies he made. And when this movie came out, this was also around the same time that I saw Fight Club for the first time. So I was like, holy shit, David Fincher, Brad Pitt. I also saw Zodiac. He made Zodiac a year before. So I was really interested in seeing this movie. When this movie came out, it was kind of being praised at the time, but a year, 2 years later, it's kind of just been labeled as a David Fincher Oscar bait film, and it's basically a more, I don't know, it's just Forrest Gump, but it's not, it's a more depressing version of Forrest Gump. I guess that's what people say about it. But I gotta say, anytime this movie has been on TV, I'm just completely hypnotized with the movie. Is the story basically basic as heck, and is the movie maybe anticlimactic? I guess so. But I really don't know. I think Curious Case of Benjamin Button is actually a pretty good movie. You got two really great actors in the film. Special effects that still hold up. This movie is it's 2026, so this movie is 18 years old? It's close to being 20 years old, but this movie has special effects and CGI that just holds up, that looks better than movies today. When it comes to period pieces that use digital filmmaking and digital technology to tell a story, this movie works. It works so well, and it's from David Fincher, who is, to me, probably one of the top 3 filmmakers that made digital cinema a legit popular thing. You got George Lucas with the Star Wars prequels. You got Robert Rodriguez doing his whole thing with Spy Kids, Sin City, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. But then you have David Fincher, who's like, I'm gonna stop shooting on film. I'm gonna start shooting digitally. Now I better rewind, because if I am honest, I am not really 100% sure if this movie was shot on digital or not. I think Zodiac was shot on digital, but they still used bits and pieces to shoot on film. Maybe this is the case in film, but this is really when Hollywood was starting to push what you can do with digital films. So yeah, that's a curious case of Benjamin Button. Also, this is an out of print Criterion Blu-ray. This is like the only Criterion that they don't make anymore. Maybe one day the Criterion will make a 4K, and then people will start saying that this is a great movie and that they'll buy it because it'll be on 4K. But right now, there's just this out of print Blu-ray that some people sell for too much on Amazon or on eBay. So I'm really glad I found it for $9.49. That's a really good deal. Boom. Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Here is another prestigious Brad Pitt movie that I think at the time was a little bit of a mixed bag. But due to another movie that's coming out later this year in 2026, I finally found this film called Troy. It is a big, epic, movie. All right, it's about the whole story of Troy, the takedown of Troy, the Trojan horse. I'm no historian, right? So I don't know anything about Greek mythology or the mythology of this movie. As a kid, I remember when I saw this movie, I thought this was based on real events. Apparently, this is not based on real events. It's all fantasy. It also takes place in the same universe as Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Now, this movie doesn't take place in the exact universe of The Odyssey. It's not like Troy and The Odyssey are two... it's not like The Odyssey is a sequel to Troy, but it's the same mythology that is in The Odyssey. And a lot of people are pointing out that The Odyssey is, I guess, historically accurate, and that people are looking at Troy as a really huge reference, as a movie that really... It's a movie that did its homework well and that was really respectful to the mythology of Troy. I don't know if that's true. I don't know how historically accurate this movie is, even if this shit is not based on real events. But it's a really badass movie. It has really badass battle scenes. Brad Pitt is in his prime. Eric Bana, very underrated actor, is also really great in this. Has a lot of really underrated actors. You got Bryan Cranston, who became really big on the show Succession. He is in this as one of the more... one of the villains of the movie. You also have some great iconic actors. You have a guy from Game of Thrones and Empire Strikes Back. You have that one guy that's from Lawrence of Arabia. This really is one of those last big epic sword and sand movies. And, we don't really get movies like this anymore. And this was one of those last ones of the 2000s. There's movies like this. Of course, you got other movies like Kingdom of Heaven. I think this movie, I don't know if this movie bombed, but these movies started bombing around the early to late 2000s, and I think that's why we don't get movies like this anymore. But this is when Hollywood really put a shitload of money into making movies like this, where, yes, it's a big blockbuster, but they're taking the material seriously, and there's also good use of practical effects and CGI effects. So yeah, Troy. Haven't seen it. Honestly, I haven't seen it in forever. I've only seen it because my cousin showed me it a long time ago. I've been meaning to buy the Blu-ray, and I finally found it. I found it at Barnes & Noble's. At half-price bookstore, $6.49. That's a really good deal because, I see it online for $40. I'm not paying $40 for a Blu-ray of Troy. Not right now. Times are hard. So if I'm going to buy movies, I want to buy them as cheap as possible. Unless it's a 4K that I'm dying to buy. Okay, so those are the movies I bought at half-price books. Now I'm going to show you some stuff I bought at Barnes & Noble's and at Walmart. I'm starting with the Walmart stuff. So Walmart, a month or two ago, right now when I'm shooting this, it is the end of April. It's now about to be May. During April, Walmart had a good selection of Blu-rays, and now we see that they are slowly getting rid of all the cool stuff. And just replace it with more shit that I just don't want to buy. It's a really sad time for physical media right now in terms of, you just can't go to a store. You can't go to Best Buy or Target because they don't do physical media anymore. Yes, it's cool that Walmart does physical media, but they just don't have a good variety. And that's probably something I got to talk about in another video. But I am a physical media hunter right now, so I do look for something that I actually want. And here are two things that I actually am happy that I bought that I found at Walmart just this weekend. I finally own the Mummy Trilogy on Blu-ray. I haven't seen these movies in quite a long time. Now, let me just talk about my introduction to the Mummy films. I remember as a kid, I was 4 when the first Mummy came out, but I remember seeing the poster of the Mummy. You have the sand face or whatever. Whenever I went to a Walmart, when Walmart or Best Buy sold VHS tapes, because they still sold VHS tapes at this time, you would see the Mummy poster, and you would see that sand thing, and you see Brandon Fraser. And I know they would also show the Mummy on TV from time to time, so there's just images of the movie that I saw, but I never really saw the movie as a kid, because as a kid I was a little bitch and I didn't like watching scary movies. So, as a kid I considered the first Mummy film a scary film. But The Mummy 2 came out, and I remember as a kid, I really enjoyed The Mummy 2. That movie is definitely more of a kid-friendly movie. You know, they had made the main characters have a kid, so, you know, kids could like it, and it worked. That was the thing they did back in the day. Put a little kid in the movie, that way little kids can watch it. Like, Anakin in the Phantom Menace. They put a little kid in The Mummy Returns. Anyways, The Mummy Returns is the one I liked the most. That's the one that I saw because we had like a really shitty VHS recording of the film, and then I remember renting the movie at Hollywood Movie Theater. But just recently, like a month or two ago, I binge watched all the Mummy films, and I love these movies. These are just really fun, entertaining action adventure films. Like when I just want to put a movie on that is just fun and entertaining, it's these movies. And here's my ranking of Mummy films. The first one is the best one. It is, all right. The Mummy Returns, Mummy 2, it's also a really good movie. The only problem is that it is literally just, it's the same movie as the first one. The Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, the only thing good about that movie is that it has some really fun action scenes. It actually has the best special effects and CGI and action scenes out of any of the Mummy movies, at least in my opinion. My only problem with The Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor is that the story sucks. There's not really a story, and the characters, I don't know, you can kind of tell that Brandon Fraser is kind of phoning it in. They replaced Rachel Zegler's character, whatever her name is. They replaced they got a different actress, a really good actress. It's just that, you know, that's not the character, what made the first two movies work so well was like the two actors that they got as the leads. Like those two characters complete each other. When you recast one of the actors with someone else, it just doesn't work. So yeah, and I remember when the Tomb of the Dragon Emperor first came out, honestly, I just thought, oh, that's a bad movie. You know, this was, when Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor came out, that was the year of films like Iron Man, The Dark Knight, Speed Racer. You know, there were some really great movies that came out that year. So yeah, The Mummy of the Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, it just came and went. It was just a forgettable, dumb movie. But rewatching it now, it's actually really good. There's some things I like about it. It's just a really fun, dumb movie. The characters don't work as well in the third film. But yeah, those are the Mummy movies. Really fun, nostalgic films. I saw them on streaming recently, but I want to own the physical movies. So I like those movies that much that I bought them on physical media. Now here is another Walmart buy that I found, and that is the Blu-ray of the legendary anime series Cowboy Bebop. This show has... I remember hearing about this show, so if you know, there's a little YouTuber who is on this channel. His name is Chris Stugman. Chris Stugman is the reason why I got into Cowboy Bebop. He basically talked about it a number of times in a number of his videos. Chris Stugman just talked about Brick, and he mentioned Cowboy Bebop. I guess this show was an influence for Rian Johnson when making that movie. But yeah, that's how I discovered Cowboy Bebop. Really great animation. Really cool, fun 90s sci-fi anime. It's like, it takes place in space, but it's a film noir, and it has that great animation that just, it's a fun show to watch. All right, that's all I'll say. I haven't seen it in years. I'm probably going to start watching it again. I'm just going to go ahead and reveal now the 3 other movies that I bought. These films I found, well, 2 of them I found at Barnes & Noble's, and they're movies that I haven't seen ever since like I was really a kid. I don't want to say that I'm nostalgic for these films, but I have a really huge appreciation for these movies now. Just given how, listen, as a kid, I grew up watching blockbuster films. Like to me, blockbuster adventure films, to me, that's cinema. That's what I mostly want to see when I go to a movie theater. I want to see a fun action adventure blockbuster movie. You know, there's stuff like Star Wars, there's stuff like The Lord of the Rings. But in the 2000s, we got this trilogy, and we got 2 other sequels that no one talks about. But in the 2000s, we got some of the best movies ever put in cinema in the 2000s, and that is the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy. I own all 3 of them. Finally, I have never owned these movies before. It's so crazy. I never owned them on DVD. I never bought the Blu-rays. You know, I remember when I was like 12 years old and Blu-ray was starting to become like a big deal. These were the movies that they would promote. Like when you go to Best Buy, they would show a copy of Pirates of the Caribbean on Blu-ray in really horrible 60 frames per second, being like, you want to see this, right? Don't you want to buy this? But yeah, anyways, I own this one. This is the first copy of Pirates of the Caribbean. I actually didn't buy this at Barnes & Noble's. I bought it online for a really good deal for like $2-3. and I put this movie on. It still holds up. These movies hold up. All right, Pirates of the Caribbean 1, it's a classic at this point. Jack Sparrow is a complete badass. Will Turner is a really underrated hero. Also, Keira Knightley as Elizabeth Swan. Oh, Barbossa, one of the coolest villains ever, dude. I rewatched this movie like probably almost a month or a few weeks ago. Oh, this movie's so good. I had the VHS tape when I was a kid, and I would rewatch it so many times. But rewatching this movie as an adult now, it's crazy. This is a Disney movie. This movie has violence. It has crude humor. It has great writing. It has really good character arcs and character dynamics. Everything I want out of everything. It has everything I kind of want from a great summer blockbuster. So this is the first Pirates of the Caribbean. It's a classic. What do you gotta say? Here are the sequels. All right, which at the time I don't think were really well respected. These movies were basically pushing the boundaries of what you can do with special effects in blockbuster cinema. But I don't think these movies really got the respect that they were. They didn't really get reviewed that well, I think, at the time, because these movies were focused more on spectacle, less on character. I gotta say, these movies are fucking great. These two films, even though these are summer blockbusters that are made by Disney, these movies are dark. These movies have complex character development. These movies have, amazing CGI that looks amazing, better than most movies today. I'm probably, I can't say much because this is just a Blu-ray haul, but watching these three films, these movies are a huge achievement. To me, this might as well just be the Star Wars of the 2000s. And I think a lot of people view, like, when I mean Star Wars, I mean, what the original Star Wars trilogy did for films, specifically blockbuster cinema in the 70s and 80s. I think that's what the Pirates of the Caribbean movies did. And yes, there's the Star Wars prequels that came out in the 2000s, the Spider-Man trilogy. There is also the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which is probably the best trilogy that came out in the 2000s. But these are like a huge close second, dude. I love these movies. I need to make a whole movie talking about not just these movies, but the Mummy films and the rise and fall of the adventure film series. I want to make a whole video about that. But right now, it's just a basic Blu-ray haul. And I think this is where I'm going to go ahead and end the video. This was just me rambling and showing off all the movies I bought over the last month. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go ahead and end the video here. Those are the movies I bought. If you're a person watching this video and making it through the end of this video, please comment. Tell me, are you a person who likes buying movies on physical media? Or you just watch movies on streaming? Do you like the same movies I like? I am clearly a person who grew up liking a lot of summer blockbuster action movies of the 2000s. And maybe I'm just getting really nostalgic for those films right now. But let me know, what movies did you watch as a kid that you're very nostalgic about and wish Hollywood would make more movies of now? Yeah, anyways, that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Keep watching movies, and